And there I was. I was the girl from Suits.
This one's wife. Bite you on the bum. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This one's wife and Harry repeatedly do things which end up biting them on the backside. Why is that? Well, with this one's wife, it is a consequence of collateral consequences. When it comes to her interactions with other human beings, she is driven by her narcissism. Her narcissism causes her to seek to have to control those around her, in some instances draw fuel from them, and also in some instances obtain character traits and residual benefits from them. That is what governs her activity. That is the holy grail of what she does. And so long as those things are obtained, all else can go to hell in a handcart, which means, like many other narcissists, the narcissist will get the control and the fuel, but will damage the relationship. The narcissist will get the control and the fuel, but be sacked from their job. The narcissist will get the control and fuel, but will fall out with a friend. And as a consequence of her high-profile position, the prominence that she has got to, the things that she does repeatedly result in her later on getting bit on the backside as a consequence of those collateral issues. Now, you might think that she would then start to realize, well, hang on a moment. I keep doing things which result in a problem for me later. I'll think ahead. But remember, she is incapable of the causal link between what she does and the problem. Why? Because her narcissism says, you're not the problem. Harry's the problem. King Charles is the problem. Piers Morgan is the problem. The British public are the problem. It's never her fault. So there is no causal link between what she does and the collateral consequence in her world. Thus, when that collateral consequence comes along, for instance, she finds herself turning up at the service of booing as a consequence of the way that she's behaved in the past, she doesn't think, oh, I understand why I'm being booed. They don't like the way that I've spoken about Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah, I get it. Instead, it's, why are they booing me? I haven't done anything wrong. They're all bigoted, horrible people. That each time the collateral consequence turns up to bite her on the bum, her narcissism steps in and says, it wasn't your fault that this has happened. It was something else that caused it. And thus, each time she does something and there is a collateral consequence, when that collateral consequence eventually arrives, like a bus turning up, the narcissism simply says, well, no, you didn't cause the problem, something else did. And thus she's never able to realize that it's her behavior that results in the problem in the first place. With Harry, he gets bitten on the backside because he's not very bright. He is driven by a sense of entitlement also, which has been cultivated by his wife, that he fails to look ahead and that he has become more and more self-absorbed as a consequence of the presence of the narcissist, harnessing existing self-absorbed behaviors which were better kept in check as a consequence of these empathic traits. But for Harry, he keeps getting bitten on the bum because he's quite simply a bit of a thicko and doesn't think ahead. And as a further example of how their behaviours are going to result in future problems for them, explained in the Telegraph. The Duke of Sussex's most intimate and private revelations made in his memoir and the Oprah Winfrey interview may be used against him in court, it has emerged. Prince Harry is among a group of high-profile figures, including Sir Elton John, Barons Lawrence of Clarendon, Sadie Frost and Liz Hurley, who have brought legal action against Associated Newspapers, publisher of the Daily Mail. The allegations include the hiring of private investigators to place listening devices inside cars, blagging private records, and accessing and recording private phone conversations. In the publisher's written defence, made public on Wednesday, Andrew Caldecott, KC, and Adrian Beltrami, KC, said the Duke's case was without foundation and is an affront to the hard-working professional journalists whose reputations and integrity, as well as that of Associated itself, are wrongly traduced. They noted that during the relevant time period, the Duke provided the media with private information about himself, adding, "The claimant also revealed the most intimate and private matters about himself, as well as his wife and his wider family, in his autobiography, Spare, published in 2023, and similarly in interviews given to Tom Bradby and Oprah Winfrey in October 2019, March 2021, and January 2023. Associated reserves the right to refer to further such examples following disclosure." Thus, in essence, Harry, dimwit that he is, thinks it's okay for me to complain about your conduct of disclosing confidential and private information, but I'm allowed to do it, and therefore I'm a hypocrite, aren't I? But he doesn't see it. He's allowed to reveal intimate and private matters about himself, but then he's also allowed to complain when somebody does it about him. He can choose to do it, but you're not allowed to do it about him. And of course, the consistency argument is, if you were really that bothered about privacy and the release of confidential information, you wouldn't go around giving interviews to Tom Bradby and Oprah Winfrey and writing about your frostbitten todger in Spare. The publisher argued that the case had been brought opportunistically following the Duke's previous legal claims against Mirror Group newspapers and News Group newspapers. It suggested that the Duke intended to present his claims against Associated as if they are just another instance of that unrelated litigation. In the documents setting out the Duke's claims, some 70 current or former journalists are named in relation to their time at Associated newspaper titles. The Duke's barrister, David Sherborne, said he would argue that information obtained by private investigators on behalf of Associated and its journalists was unlawfully or illegally obtained. However, the publisher said the Duke's case was replete with sweeping allegations of serious criminal conduct, which lack even the most basic of particulars. It continued, "It is denied that Associated journalists widely and habitually carried out or commissioned the carrying out of illegal or unlawful information gathering activities." An Associated newspaper spokesman said it had filed a trenchant defence of its journalism against claims of phone hacking brought by Prince Harry, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Sir Simon Hughes, and a number of show business celebrities. It said in a statement, "In papers submitted to the High Court, the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday denied under oath that its journalists had commissioned or obtained information derived from phone hacking, phone tapping, bugging, computer or email hacking, or burglary to order." Associated also denied claims made by Prince Harry and Baroness Lawrence that it commissioned private investigators Gavin Burrows and Jonathan Rees, as well as claims by Sir Simon Hughes that it commissioned convicted phone hacker Glenn Mulcair. Indeed, it is highly significant that Gavin Burrows has retracted a statement he allegedly gave to the claimants on which their case appeared to be based. The publisher stands by its previous statements that the claims are preposterous and without foundation, and says in its defence submission that the case brought by the Prince and others is an affront to the hard-working journalists whose reputations and integrity, as well as those of Associated itself, are wrongly traduced. Thus, this brings to the fore that the way that Harry, encouraged by his wife to disclose information which aids her in the assertion of control, and the fact that he's too dim-witted to think ahead, is going to get bitten on the bum in legal proceedings by his own behaviours, revelations, and disclosures. We shall see if that remains to be the case, but it provides me with another opportunity to explain the behaviours of both Harry and this one's wife through the relevant prisms of what they are. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.